Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are making a perfume, an eau de parfum, very similar to Chance Eau Tendre by Chanel. Now this formula is kind of my own making. It's from a GCMS analysis that was posted on Reddit. I went through the analysis, assumed some naturals, and then put this formula together, and it's wonderful. The formula even in and of itself is wonderful. Is it Chance Eau Tendre by Chanel? Not quite. Something's missing, and something will always be missing when you're putting together a fragrance from a GCMS analysis. You're not going to get all the naturals correctly. You're not going to get everything. So there's always going to be something missing. But I think as a study formula and just something to whip up, this stuff is amazing. It's fantastic. Now, Chance Eau Tendre was released in 2010 by Chanel. It was perfumed by the amazing Jacques Polge. According to Fragrantica, the top notes are quince. I actually don't know that word. Here I am, 40 years old, and I'm still learning words. What the heck is quince? I'm guessing it's a fruit, maybe a citrus fruit. Help me out. So top notes are quince and grapefruit. Middle notes are hyacinth and jasmine. I love hyacinth. I have some in my front yard that are starting to pop up right now. And the base notes are musk, iris, Virginia cedar, and amber. Wonderful. Let's take a look at the formula. Whew. It's a lot of base notes. Now what I have here is just the juice. It is just the concentrate. I'm going to make 100 grams of concentrate. It should fill this 4-ounce bottle. You can get roughly 125 milliliters in here, so we're going to cut it close, but I should be able to get 100 grams of juice in here. I'm going to let it mature, and then, if I want to give a present to my sister, my mom, whomever, I can pull some juice out, and dilute it in some alcohol, put it in a bottle, and hey, I've got a gift. So we look at the formula, much of it is base notes. We're talking white florals, we're talking musks, ISO Super, Hedione. It's heavy in those base materials. We look at the breakdown here by fragrance family. Yeah, a lot of white florals, a lot of Hedione, a lot of musk. It's wonderful, and a lot of ISO Super. Let's see what else is in the bottom. Yeah, it's mostly ISO Super. So a third of this formula is ISO Super. 11% of this formula is Galaxolide. And then roughly 23% of this formula is Hedione. So it's pretty heavy in what Sarah McCartney calls clouds. So let's get this started. Now first, the scale that I'm working with, it maxes at 200 grams. Now I'm using a 200 milliliter beaker that weighs 107 grams. You do quick math, I'm not going to be able to get 100 grams of juice in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save the 29 grams of ISO Super for last. I'm going to put it in this bottle, in this 50 ml beaker, and that'll be the last thing that I do. So I'm going to skip over the ISO Super. So what do we start with first? First things first, we're going to start with Virginia cedarwood. Now, I think this is my first time using this particular Virginian cedarwood from Perfumer's World. What has your experience been like with Perfumer's World? I have found, in general, their stuff is quality. Quality enough for a guy like me, testing, learning, experimenting, making gifts for family and friends. It's good enough. Virginia cedarwood, I love this stuff. Love this stuff. I actually just purchased a kilo of it from a new supplier called The Perfumery. I had to buy it in bulk, but that's okay. All right, we want 2.2 grams of Virginia cedarwood. Let's get this started. So we're going to get 2 pipettes full. of course, Virginia cedarwood smells of pencil shavings. At least that's what everyone says, and I get it. I'm not sure if do kids these days, here I am, old man, do kids these days use pencils, like, you know, the old number 2 pencils that I grew up with, or is it mechanical pencils, or do kids write anymore, or are they just texting? All right, boy, this is good stuff. Virginia cedarwood, good stuff. Now, other than the ISO-E Super, if you wouldn't even call that a wood, there's Virginia cedarwood and there's a couple sandalwood materials. The 2 sandalwood materials we have are Bacdanol and Sandalore. Both of these are amazing, amazing materials. Let's start with the Bacdanol. Bacdanol is wonderful. Bacdanol I can actually pick up on a scent strip. Some of the sandalwood materials like Ocyrol I cannot pick up on a scent strip. I keep trying it, thinking my nose might adjust, might develop the ability to smell it. Alas. Now, Bacdanol is wonderful. It's smooth, it's creamy. It is a sandalwood note. Really helps to mellow out a formula. Provides a wonderful base to work off of. We want 0.75 grams. Good. Right there. Again, worst part about working with 100% strength materials is I always get a little left over in the pipette that I can't get out. I'm always trying to get it out. Always trying to empty that pipette. Okay, Sandalore. A little less Sandalore, only 0.1 grams at 100%. Sandalore is also amazing. To my nose, it's just a touch softer than Bacdanol, if I remember correctly. Just a touch softer. It's so thick. This stuff is so thick. 0.106 grams. If I was working with a diluted material, that would be roughly 8 drops, but this is not diluted. This is heavy. There it is. About spot on. Interestingly, when I started learning about perfumery back in late 2021, you know, I'd purchased 4 milliliter samples of everything, or amounts of everything from Perfumer's Apprentice. My Bacdanol, no, my Ebinol actually went bad. I couldn't believe it. I thought that stuff was going to last for a while, but no, it did not. All right, vanillin. Vanillin is up next. Only 10% vanilla, I'm sorry, only 0.06 grams in this formula makeup at a 10% dilution. It's interesting how sometimes I will see very small amounts of vanillin in a formula. Very small amounts. Boy, that's enough. All right. Working up. Let's get into our musks. Now, the most musk that we have is Galaxolide. I didn't want to work with 100% strength Galaxolide, so I adjusted the formula so it's Galaxolide 50. I actually don't know if I have 20 grams of Galaxolide 50 in here. We're going to see. So we want Galaxolide. Let's get these in order. Where's my Ambrettolide? Ambrettolide, where are you? I don't think I got out my Ambrettolide. I am glad. Okay, let's see. All right. We've got our Ambrettolide. So we have Ambrettolide, Cashmeran, our Galaxolide, Habanolide. We've got 2 bottles of Habanolide, a small one and a big one. Might have to dip into both. Helvetolide. We've got a nice muscaccord going here. And then Muscenone delta. There's a Habanolide. And then Muscenone delta. Okay, let's start with Muscenone delta. If I remember correctly, when a GCMS analysis is done of traditional deer musk, muscenone is one of the main molecules in deer musk. If someone watching this knows otherwise, please make a comment. But that's what I remember reading. The problem with reading things on the internet, occasionally, it's just not true. So we have 2.8 grams of this stuff. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Interestingly, that this is roughly 3% of the formula. This stuff does have an animalic tilt to it, but all it does is provide some warmth and smoothness in the base. Doesn't give us an animalic note per se, or at least anything that we can detect. Maybe it's more of a psychological effect of how our brains interpret what we're smelling, and it just increases the loveliness of the formula. And I will say, this formula is lovely. All right, we've got our muscenone. This is not a cheap material. Yeah, muscenone, one of the more expensive materials, but worth it. Next up, Helvetolide. I have a small bit of Helvetolide here in a 4 milliliter dram. What do you call this? Little bottle from Perfumer's Apprentice. I'm going to use all this. We want 3.5 grams of Helvetolide. I'm about to run out here. Thank you, Helvetolide. You've served me well. Almost a full gram. Thank you. Put this down here. Oh, I can smell it. Oh, boy, it smells nice. It's warm, it's musky, it's white musky, it's clean. Oh, that's a treat. That's a treat. You know what I might have to do here? Oh, nope. I thought this bottle might have one of those stoppers in there that you got to pry out, which can be a real pain. All right, so we have 1 gram of Helvetolide. We need 2.5 more. Let's get it going. Just a little more. All right. All right. Oh boy. Oh, that smells so good. That smells so good. Next up, Habanolide. Habanolide. Wait, what am I doing? I have extra muscenone. Whoops. All right, don't need that. Make sure I was, yeah, okay. Habanolide. I grabbed something I wasn't expecting to grab that always shakes my brain and makes me think, am I putting in here what I think I'm putting in here? Habanolide. Okay, I just have this, 80 grams from Perfumer's Apprentice. Habanolide is from Firmenich. It's the same molecule as Globalide, made by Symrise. To me, this is a bit soapier, a bit sharper, not quite as sweet, just a little bit brighter. I guess you could say more metallic. Still lovely, absolutely lovely. Here we have one. Ooh, look at that color. Look at that color. Let me see. 1.2 grams. One more dip. I think it's Habanolide that has been referenced as a hot iron, or it smells like a hot iron. Maybe it's a musk they put in lots of laundry detergent. But if they do, keep it up, team. Doing a good job. Stuff smells good. All right, we have our Habanolide. I'm going to save the Galaxolide for last, just in case I have to make another painful dilution. It sucks working with Galaxolide. Friends, if you're going to buy Galaxolide, Perfumer's Apprentice sells a 50% dilution. Do yourself a favor, just get the 50% dilution. Otherwise, you're going to need a hot plate or a water bath. Okay, let's get the Cashmeran 0.177. Cashmeran is from IFF. I believe, it's solid. I forgot. Cashmeran is solid at Seattle area at room temperature. I'm gonna have to heat this up. Luckily, it melts pretty quickly, but I forgot. So let's move on to the Ambrettolide and Galaxolide. Ambrettolide, not much left in here, but I won't need much. 0.309 grams. All right. All right, perfect. Ambrettolide is wonderful. It's wonderful. I need to read up more on Ambrettolide. This is a product from Givaudan. Not sure if it's reminiscent of like Ambrette seed or where exactly they get, why they call it Ambrettolide. But it's good stuff. Also expensive, FYI. Ambrettolide on the spendier side of your typical musks. All right, let's get this Galaxolide going. Let's do it. 20 grams. It would be 10 grams at 100% strength. I'm not at 100% strength, I'm at 50. Now, this is diluted, I believe, in DPG. I should make a note here. Okay, diluted in DPG. And maybe we'll get away with our 20 grams here because DPG is just a touch heavier than alcohol, than ethanol, or, you know, than maybe even than Galaxolide. We'll see. All right, let me get organized. 20 grams. Okay. I should probably just pour this in here, but I don't want to deal with the mess. So we're going to use the pipette. All right, 1 pipette, 0.7 grams. We'll see how it goes. Screw it. I'm gonna have to pour. It's gonna take too long. Let me get something to clean up the mess that I know is going to happen. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, we have enough. Wonderful, and mess averted. Averted. Just need 1.3 more grams. I'm gonna have to make another dilution, which sucks, but I will deal with it. Perfect. Okay, I'm glad we had enough Galaxolide. Diluting Galaxolide is for another video. Okay. Let's see how our Cashmeran's doing. This hot plate is on level hot. It goes from hot to insane. That's the levels that this hot plate goes to. Right now it's at hot. Maybe let's turn it up to extra spicy. Give that another minute. Okay, while we're waiting, let's do this. Let's move up to the ionones. Let's get in our methyl ionone gamma and our Iralia total. Can't remember if in the GCMS I saw methyl ionone or if I saw isoraldine, but I'm guessing I saw one of those. Not that it matters. It is what it is. So let's do this. Methyl ionone gamma. Oh, I'm going to need the bigger bottle. So let's empty out our 4 mils here. Methyl ionone gamma core from IFF. This is also known as alpha isomethyl ionone. Alpha isomethyl ionone is the same thing as methyl ionone gamma. We're looking for 2 grams of this stuff. This is wonderful. Smells of violets, supposedly. It's been a minute since I've smelled violets, so I can't actually say whether or not this smells like violets. All right, new bottle getting opened. Whew. This is lovely stuff. Just wonderful stuff. Okay, let's get it going. 2.1 grams. Okay. There it is. If you're new to perfumery and you've got to pick up some new materials, gotta watch this. Methyl ionone gamma needs to be on your list. Forget about methyl ionone alpha, methyl ionone beta. Methyl ionone gamma is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in so much stuff. And if a formula is calling for a different kind of methyl ionone, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I was thinking about this last night. Next up, Iralia, or N-methyl ionone, also known as isoraldine. I was thinking about this last night as far as replacements in fragrances and whether or not you use Dynascone versus neobutanone. At some point, it doesn't matter. At this level, it does not matter. I likened it to if you're writing a symphony for an orchestra. You've got your orchestration, you got your violins, your cellos, your trumpets, tubas, your percussion. Maybe you're looking at your violins. That's your ionone, your methyl ionone. Whether or not you pick methyl ionone alpha or methyl ionone beta or methyl ionone gamma, you're picking between different brands of violin. It's all violin. It all sounds the same. It smells the same. And in the mix of the orchestra, can you really tell if an individual violin player is playing a Stradivarius versus a whatever in the blend? I mean, for most people, no, you can't. Now, maybe Jacques Polge could smell the difference, but I'm not Jacques Polge, so I'm okay having a generic violin in my orchestra. Our Cashmeran is liquefied. Let's throw it in. All right, so our Iralia is in. Methyl ionone gamma is in. It's time for Cashmeran, 0.177 grams. Just a small amount. right. Thank you, hot plate. Pretty certain my hot plate has a nuclear reactor somewhere inside, because occasionally I will test it, you know, don't touch hot stove, but still got to try, that kind of guy thing. Do that all the time. Do that all the time. And I always burn my hands. All right, that's good. Next up, I want to. Now, let's just give it a little swirl. Let's give it a little smell. Really, I'm getting musk. Ooh, I'm getting this. I'm getting the cedarwood. Oh, musk, cedarwood, and sandalwood. That's what I'm getting, and that's what's in there. So, would you believe it? Typically, from this point, what I like to do is rosy florals, white florals. But you know what? Let's throw in our ambers first. I forgot. There is one solid, one powder in here. Ambrox, or in my case, Ambrox Super. Let's add in Ambrox Super and our Amberwood F materials. I need a spoon for the Ambrox. I think a technical term is spatula if you're a scientist. I need a spatula. This is not a spoon. It's a spatula. Pretty sure if I use the correct terms, I will sound more legitimate. So, from here on out, I will use the spatula. Now, for Ambrox Super. Now, I could have used Ambroxan. I probably could have used Ambrox DL, Cedarwood, any of the Ambrox molecules, and we would have been fine. But I've got 10 grams of this Ambrox Super from Perfumer's World. Rather than digging into my kilo of Ambroxan I've got sitting over there, I'll use this up. All right, we got 0.618 grams of Ambrox Super, a Firmenich product. So let me tear. I'm gonna pour first, and then I'm going to use the spatula for the remaining amount. Maybe I can just sprinkle this. I can just sprinkle this until we're good. Let's see how close we get. One more. Good. I didn't even need my spatula. All right. Next up, Amberwood F, also known as Bois Amber Forte. Okay. Amberwood F is a Symrise product. Wonderful. It's a bit woodier. It's a bit woodier than, say, Ambroxide. It's still very ambery, but there's definitely a woody note in there. Okay, roughly 1.5 grams. Here we go. Good, good. All right. Spot on, and I didn't even have to get into my larger bottle. Okay. Wonderful. So, I'm not going to be able to smell this, I don't think. Yeah. That's okay. Next up, let's add in our red florals. Now here we have Citronellal, rosy material. Then we have some more fruity oriented florals. We have Damascenone, beta Damascenone, dimethyl benzyl carbonyl acetate, or DMBCA. I've got a code word here, DMBCA. We have some ethyl linalool and some neroli. I love ethyl linalool. It's like linalool in that it's like floral, metallic, but it's a little sweeter. It's a little sweeter. It's wonderful. The neroli, Yep, okay, we got some Neroli. And then Helional. Maybe less of a floral note. The Helional, more of a modifier, kind of like Calone, kind of lifts it up, gives it an aquatic feel. But we'll throw it in. Why not? YOLO. Oh, look, another solid. Dimethyl benzyl carbonyl acetate. Forgot. Solid. Let's put it on top of our nuclear reactor and we'll let it heat up. Let's get our other stuff. Muscenone, Ethyl Linalool, Citronellal, Helional, and no, we're not going to do Hydroxycitronellal right now. All right, that'll do it. I'm missing one. Neroli. Hello, Neroli. I got, yeah, we'll cover Neroli when we, we'll do it right now. Neroli, 0.44 grams of Neroli. I got this Neroli from Creating Perfume. When I bought this, I actually sent them a message saying, hey, this is a bit less expensive than I'm used to seeing Neroli. Like, what's up? What's the catch? And they sent back a very finely worded email that hinted at the use of an AI generator about supply chains and, you know, whatever. The long story short, this Neroli ain't bad. The top of the Neroli is just a bit scratchier. I haven't looked at the GCMS. I can't quite pinpoint what it is. It's a touch scratchier than I'm used to smelling in Neroli. But that scratchiness goes away very quickly. I think in here it's hidden by the other materials. That harsh opening is hidden. Other than that, it ain't bad. It ain't a bad Neroli. I would say go to Creating Perfume, check it out. I don't know what their supply is like right now, but yeah, price-wise, it's not bad. It's a deal. 0.441 of Neroli. Oh, interesting. I put it in the solution and the Ambrox Super spreads to the side. It's trying to avoid it. Interesting chemical reaction going on there. All right. This guy's going to go back in the fridge. Now, Neroli is similar to orange blossom, only that Neroli is the essential oil from bitter orange flowers. Orange blossom is the same thing from bitter orange flowers, but I believe it's usually a solvent extraction. So it's like, you know, orange flower absolute. So it's not distilled. It is solvent extracted. And the notes that you get from Neroli and orange flower or orange blossom absolute, they're a bit different. They're a bit different. They're both amazing. Helional, yeah. Here we go, baby. 0.883. Now this is just such a quality material. It's produced by IFF. It helps to lift up the fragrance, just give it some transparency. Almost there. Yeah, that'll do. Will do. And our dimethyl benzyl carbonyl acetate. Heating up. We're doing good. Let's move to the ethyl linalool. 1.942 grams. 1.94 grams. Oh boy, just love the sweetness. It's like you take linalool and then you like throw some sugar in it and you've got a nice sweet. It's just wonderful. All right, 1.94. Remember, measure twice, cut once. Yep, good. All right, ethyl linalool has been deployed. Next up, let's do our Damascenone. There is another material in the GCMS that I don't have. Pomerose. I also can't find it. I haven't looked too hard. It's been a while since I've looked, but I can't find it. And I couldn't find a molecule that that is the same. It's like trimethyl octadienone, I think is the name of it. I have other octadienols and other chemicals that are close. The description on TGSC, the Good Sense, gives it similar to Damascone or Damascenone. So I almost just added a bit more Damascenone, but I saw this was already in here. Oh Lord, I'm doing this wrong. Damascenone is a 10% dilution. I was about to throw 100% in there. Would have been no bueno. Okay, where are you at? Here we go. Damascenone. So I almost added more Damascenone to the formula, but then I thought, nah, I have already made this. I've already made a version of this, and I did it without Pomerose. I did without adding more Damascenone or Damascone. So I think we're good. I'm not going to mess with it. But hopefully one day I'll find some Pomerose, add it to the wall of glory right here. All right, thank you. Dimethyl benzyl carbonyl acetate is liquefied. This is at 100%. Always careful when opening it. Never know about air pressure and splatter. We've got 0.05 grams of this. Here we go. 3 drops will do it. A little heavy of a material. Okay. Citronellol, last but not least. 100%. 1.324 grams. There it is. Okay. Citronellol. It's like rose. It's like cheap rose in a bottle. It smells very rosy. Yeah, a little geraniol, little phenylethyl alcohol. You've got a rose accord. Then you can throw in some extra stuff in trace amounts. You know, you can get a really good rose. But it's really all you need. Okay, let's give this just a little swirl. And then a little smell. Let's see if anything's coming out of here. Nice. Nice. Getting the red florals, definitely getting the citronellol. Definitely getting that. Okay, next up, let's do our white florals. Let me make sure I have enough. We have our Hedione HC, our Sylvial, Florol, yes, our Lilial, Hydroxycitronellal. Where are you at? Here we go. Hydroxycitronellal, Hexyl Cinnamaldehyde. This is another, not solid anymore. It's solid when I put it in the fridge because I fridge most of my ingredients, most of my materials. Fluorhydryl, Benzyl Acetate. All right. I went to go buy more Lilial. Can't find it. It's sold out. Perfumer's Apprentice says that in the state of California, this is no longer allowed to be put into consumer products or cosmetics. So I don't think they're selling it anymore. Now, IFF already makes a Lilial replacer, so I'll probably start ordering that. But I will probably buy as much Lilial as I can while it's still around, and then not buy it anymore. But I'm excited to try this Lilial replacer. I hope it's good because Lilial is a great great material. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Lilial can still be used. It can still be used per IFRA guidelines, but it is restricted, but you can still use it. Let's get this going. First up, Sylvial. Now, one thing I love about a lot of these materials is how heavy they are, how thick they are. And a lot of these, I'm not sure you'd call them a base note, but they're thick. They hang around. Now, all of these are, most of these, yeah, all of them except for benzyl acetate, lily of the valley, muguet notes. Sylvial, not much, 100%, 0.06 grams. Sylvial, it's wonderful. It's light, airy, a little bit fruity. All of these materials, all of these lily of the valley and muguet materials just help lift, clarify your formula. Okay, next up, let's get our Hedione HC. Now, looking at the GCMS, it just says Hedione. And I'm going to assume that whichever company is producing this is using maybe a Hedione, maybe it's the, what is it, Paradisone? Paradisone, it's a captive molecule. It's basically Hedione, but it's got such a high proportion of that material is that desired cis isomer. I assume they were using some of that. Ooh, I can get this Hedione HC from the bottle. Love this stuff. Hedione, so what I did here is I basically split up. Instead of saying we're going to have 23% of the formula as Hedione, I split it up so that it's roughly half and half Hedione and Hedione HC. We're going to start with the Hedione HC, 8.8 grams of this. This is going to really lift the formula, really help the other materials project and throw. This stuff on its own smells amazing. In fact, I've been experimenting with a formula with a fragrance that you can wear to work when your work tells you not to wear fragrances to work. Maybe something in the family of not perfume, you know, like molecule 01, molecule 02, etc. But Hedione's a key ingredient there because it's so subtle. You can barely detect it. You can detect it, but it's not offensive. You smell like you, just better. Maybe that's what I love about it. You smell like you, just better. If you were to wear just Hedione. We're almost done with this, I promise. Probably okay if I overdose it by a drop or two. Yeah, all right, we're done. I'm gonna have to refill my Hedione HC bottle. So what I have is I have a big bottle in my fridge over here. Hedione HC is known to, what's the word, degrade back into normal Hedione. All of that all of the cis isomer that you want is relatively volatile, and it will convert into the normal. So I've read on the internet, it will convert to the normal isomer of Hedione. So I keep it in the fridge, try to keep that reaction slowed down as much as possible. But I keep I keep a smaller bottle in a different fridge, so I can keep the big one in the fridge for as long as possible. Hedione. Now we've got 11 grams of this. You know what I should do? I should get a different pipette. Let's get a 3 milliliter pipette for this. We want 11.5 grams of Hedione. And I can tell already going to need to order some more. think Hedione was first used in Dior Eau Sauvage when that was released. I believe it was roughly a 3% of the juice. And back then, it was expensive. Back then, maybe it was a captive molecule, but not many people were making it. Luckily, through time and innovation and the opening up of intellectual property, because patents expire, Hedione became more widely available and thus more widely used. Again, I read that on the internet. Take it with a grain of salt. All right, we've got our Hedione. Next up, we've got Florol, Lilial, Hydroxycitronellal, Hexyl Cinnamaldehyde, Fluorhydryl Benzyl Acetate. Let's get it going. Florol. This stuff is nice. I just ordered a bunch of this. It's very similar to Silvial. Actually, I should probably do more study of this alongside Silvial, alongside Hydroxycitronellal, because they're so similar. It would be well worth my time, I think, to understand these a bit better. Here we have 1.4 grams. This material is surprisingly light. Florol is also a Firmenich product, but other companies make the same molecule. I know I didn't purchase Florol per se, I purchased Florosa. Can't remember who purchased Florosa, but that's sitting in my fridge too. There we go. Next up, Lilial. There's not much Lilial, only 0.2 grams. Lilial is again a lot like these other materials. It's a bit lighter. It's not as rich, you would say, as Silvial to my nose. Here it is. Okay. Hydroxycitronellal. .441. I would keep describing these materials, but they're all kind of the same to me. To me, it's kind of like a musk accord. The musk accord that we built. The musks are very similar. They're all musky. They all kind of serve the same purpose. To me, it's the same thing here. Hexyl Cinnamaldehyde, Hydroxycitronellal, Lilial, Florol, Silvial. They're all Fluorhydryl. They're all kind of the same. They're all kind of the same. And at least where I'm at in my journey, only a couple years in, off and on, mind you, there's more work to be done in understanding the difference. All right. Three more. Hexyl Cinnamaldehyde. Okay. If you ever see Hexyl Cinnamaldehyde, the same thing. It's the same thing. 0.309. Got two more. Fluorhydryl, benzyl acetate. Just a splash of fluorhydryl, also known as floral butanol. This is a Givaudan product. This is definitely a brighter Muguet material than, say, Lilial or Florol. Not as heavy, a little more fruity, a little more green. Last up, benzyl acetate. And it's just a splash, only 0.06 grams. Benzyl acetate, one of the main constituents of jasmine. I remember my first experience going to a brewery. And in the brewery, they let you smell the barley. They let you smell the hops. And that was like an epiphany moment of smelling those. I had never smelled hops. I had never smelled barley. And then to smell them separate and then be able to go smell beer. It was at a Sam Adams. It was at a Sam Adams brewery in Boston, just outside of Boston. And I was just thrilled that I could differentiate the smells when smelling my beer. I could smell the beer. Smelling the beer, I could smell the hops. I could smell the barley. And I could pick it out. It was that same way with benzyl acetate and smelling jasmine. So now I smell jasmine, and that benzyl acetate is just right there. Kind of like when you smell coriander and you're like, oh, hello, linalool. Next up, let's do some of the sweeter ones. All right, we've got Damascone alpha, ethyl acetoacetate, manzanate, love manzanate, and Verdox, otherwise known as green acetate, otherwise known as ortho-tert-butyl-cyclohexyl acetate. That's a mouthful. Let's start with that one. Let's start with our Verdox, or ortho-tertiary butyl cyclohexyl acetate. I'm glad whichever company makes Verdox just calls it Verdox. I didn't write down who makes Verdox, but thank you for branding it Verdox. Much easier to say. All right, 0.124 grams. There it is. All right. I like Verdox. It is a little green. But it's fruity and sweet. And I need to pick up more of this because this can be a main constituent, a consistent constituent of fragrances. So it's good to have. I would say not required, but it's good to have in the organ. Next up, manzanate. We're going to do manzanate at a 10% dilution. This is some strong stuff, and it is wonderful. Can't remember what the Jean-Claude Elena accord is, but you mix this with something else and you get apple. And I get it. It's called manzanate for a reason. Ethyl 2-methylpentanoate is the chemical name, or at least one of the chemical names. This stuff is strong. It adds a real nice core in my nose, very centered, very forward. It's a very strong material. Doesn't last that long, but it's very strong. Here we have 0.15 grams at 10%. Interesting. The Ambrox is also shying away from this when I put it in. Kind of like when you're cooking a sauce and you put pepper in. Sometimes it just spreads throughout. Spreads throughout what you're cooking. Next up, ethyl acetoacetate. Another top note. This stuff is also going to be at 10%. Doesn't last that long. Maybe 4 hours on a strip. Let's see. The description of the smell is ethereal, fruity apple, sweet, and rum-like. Okay, I like the sound of that. I'm less familiar with this. This is new to the Wall of Glory. Rum-like, a little alcohol, not ethanol, but like wine, rum. That's interesting. This is lovely. Also sweet. Also sweet. So here at 10%, we have 0.265 grams. Should do it. Okay. Last up, Damascone Alpha. Now this is at 100%, but we're not putting much in, only 0.035 grams. This is floral, it's fruity, it's like rose and apple, and it's strong. Usually when I'm making up blends, I'm putting this in at 1%. That's it. So let's do this. 0.035. That's probably going to be 2 drops, depending on the weight of this. 2 drops, spot on, 0.35 grams. Little goes a long way with your Damascone. Oh, luckily, I closed the lid before I dropped it. Okay. Okay. It's still Citronellal forward. I can still pick that up, but we're headed in the right direction. Yeah, we're definitely headed in the right direction. What we have left are green notes. We have our citrus. We have one aldehyde, some floral ozone, some lavender, and then some ISO-E super. So let's get into our green notes. The first one is, let's do Hexenyl, Cis-3 Salicylate. This material is really growing on me. It's that classic salicylate, and but in the Cis-3 Hexenol direction. So it's a little green. 0.441. All right. Okay. Next up, we're going to do, I wonder why these aren't in order. Let's do the Cis-3 Hexenol butyrate. Now in the GCMS, it's Cis-3 Hexenol isobutyrate. I don't have that. Not only that, I can't find it. This stuff is much more fruity. Still green, but much more fruity. I'm sure the isobutyrate is a touch different than the butyrate version, I would imagine. Kind of like how Muscone and isomuscone are just a touch different. Eugenol, isoeugenol, a little bit different. But there's not much in here. There's only 0.08 grams. That'll do. And again, I've made this batch before. It smells good. It smells fine. So this will work. Next up, Lif Arome. Made by IFF. Also just a splash of this. This is a top note. It's green floral, a little fruity. Apple, violet leaf-esque. There's a nice smoothness to this. Lif Arome is great. 0.088 grams, not much, doesn't take much. Oh, good. One thing I've noticed about green notes, like Lif Arome, like cyclogalbanate, Triplal, Styrylyl acetate, maybe less styrylyl acetate. They're easy to overdo. One of these days I'll do green Irish tweed. We'll make some green Irish tweed. First time I made it, I accidentally overdid the greens, so I called it greener Irish tweed. And there's almost no saving it with some of the overdoses I accidentally did. So these materials are no joke. Next, Triplal. 2,4-isocarbaldehyde. This is 0.16 grams. This, lovely. Little bit, well, it's green. It's a little waxy. It reminds me of that milky sap you get on your hands when you're pulling weeds outside. Maybe some of these green notes are used in trace amounts, relatively speaking, because That's how they contribute to the rose accord, the jasmine accord. Of course, when you smell flowers, you don't just smell the flower, right? You're smelling the green grass. You're smelling the leaves. Here we go, stearylyl acetate, otherwise known as Gardinol. 0.265. Now, occasionally, if I'm in, I think it's Simrise, if I'm looking at Simrise documentation, 0.265, they will call this phenethyl acetate. And then in parentheses, they'll put Gardinol. So I never know. I'm like, am I supposed to use phenethyl acetate or should I be using stearylyl acetate? But because they call out and they put it in parentheses, I'm like, I'm going to use stearylyl acetate. Next up, Cis-3 Hexenol. This is also at a 10% dilution, 0.265. The same amount, equal parts as stearylyl acetate. All right, friends, we're almost done. We are almost done. We've got a little bit of lavender. We have bergamot, lemon, methyl pamplemousse, some aldehyde C14 or gamma undecalactone, because it ain't an aldehyde, so I've read on the internet. And then some floral ozone. All right, some lavender. I didn't know what lavender to use, so I've got a bottle of lavender Bulgaria that's easy to reach and it smells good, so we're going to use that. 100%, 4.4 grams. This gives us simultaneously a little herbal aromatic combined with floral. It's like killing two birds with one stone. Hey everyone, quick interjection. Lavender shouldn't be in this formula. I don't know why I added it to this this formula. As it was mixing and blending, it smelt a little too soft and lavendery for me. And that's because the original one that I made a couple weeks ago did not contain lavender. I do enjoy the addition of lavender. It's a bit softer. It's just a touch more aromatic and floral. It tones down those bright, the bright top notes a little bit. But it is not in the original formula that I created off of the GCMS. So take that with a grain of salt. Consider removing the lavender in the formula. Otherwise, enjoy. All right. Can't forget my ISOE Super. We won't forget that. Let's add our aldehyde C14. At a 10% dilution, we're looking at 1/2 gram. Sometimes I'll see this in formulas written as pure peach. Sometimes it's gamma undecalactone. Sometimes it's aldehyde C14. It smells great. It is lactonic, smooth, creamy, beachy. It's a wonderful material. Next up, last three. I'm sorry, at least as far as the citruses are concerned, we've got bergamot. And not much. 0.59, almost 0.6 grams. There it is. It's interesting that this fragrance is so bright on the top. It's so bright, yet it doesn't have much citrus in it. Yeah, it's amazing. Lemon, 100% lemon, 0.16 grams. So right now we're looking at 2/3 of 1% is in bergamot. 1/5 of 1% is in lemon. And 1/10, no, 1/100th of 1% is in methyl pamplemousse. There's just not a lot of citrus in here, yet you spray it and it smells so bright and citrusy. It's a good illusion. All right, lemon. I'm using Californian cold pressed lemon, 0.16 grams. There it is. Methyl pamplemousse. Now this is a 10% dilution. Occasionally I'll see this written as Ambrosite, but methyl pamplemousse, it is a grapefruit note. And it's a wonderful, absolutely wonderful material. But not much, 0.13 grams of this 10% dilution. Just enough to make you happy. All right, 2 more ingredients. Let's get this floral ozone. Also at 10%, 0.15 grams. Definitely floral ozone is a marine aquatic. Gives it clarity. It's a lot like the Muguet materials, but without the floral nature. It's a bit more marine. Bit watery, bit more watery. Okay. All right. Now remember, this is all my scale can handle. So what we're going to do is put this here. Turn on the heat. We're going to turn this on to hot because that's the lowest setting for this freaking thing. Hot. Let me get a stir bar. Drop it in there. We're going to start mixing this. And then I'm going to measure out the ISO Super. And as a last thing, I'm not going to put it here in the formula. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some Soul Guard. Soul Guard is a mix of antioxidants and sunscreens that FraterWorks sells. And they typically recommend between 0.4% of the juice to 5% of the juice where you can use this stuff. It doesn't smell like anything. But if I'm going to be giving this away, I'll probably be putting it in clear bottles, and maybe some sunscreen wouldn't hurt. So I'm going to put in just a little bit, maybe half a gram of Soul Guard into this. So let's start with that. Now I can't remember if I saw octosalicylate, avobenzene, Parsol MCX. I can't remember if I found any of that in the GCMS. It's possible, but those are all UV blockers. All right, half a gram. Oh, come on. Have to reset this. Here we go. All right. The heat is on. The stir bar is mixing. Let's get this ISO Super. We have 29 grams. I am also going to pour this. Let me make sure. I've got a clean. All right. We're going to pour. Floral ozone is done. All right. Let's pour. 29 grams. This is the last bit. Here we go. just shy. 28.9 grams, not a bad pour. So let's get just a little bit more. We'll true up to 29.132. Oh, and I can smell that juice from here as that's heating up. Perfect. It smells very good. Very, very good. Whew. Yeah. Okay. Let's pour our ISO E Super. Wonderful. All right, friends. I'm going to let that mix, let that dissolve. I'm going to pour it into a bottle and let it mature, and then mix it up for some gifting. Thank you for joining me. Mix this up. Tell me what you think. Personally, I think it's a great formula. I think it's a great, if anything, it's a great study formula. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.